Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. We are all captivated by the big Louvre jewel heist because it was so easy for four thieves to just waltz into the most famous museum in the world and just steal a bunch of really expensive jewelry from the 19th century. And I know we're supposed to be up in arms about this, but the thing that is astonishing to me is how easy it was, because you assume, having seen so many movies and shows about, people who planned for months and years how to break into these impenetrable fortresses and, run off into the night with priceless works of art and irreplaceable jewels, as was apparently the case here, but really, really not that difficult. So if you remember a few years ago in Paris, they had the yellow vest protests where, everyone's on strike in France, including apparently a lot of the workers at the Louvre. So they've had to cut down visitor capacity to about a third of what it normally is, because they say they just don't have enough staffers. And, if you're upset about anything in France, you go on strike and you try and paralyze whatever industry or employer you've got. So they have no choice but to pay you much more money than you deserve for doing an easier job than you would have in the United States. So maybe that was the case. Maybe someone on the inside knew that there was not a lot of security in the Apollo wing of the Louvre, where they were able to commandeer a cherry picker with these little yellow vests on. So people went, "Oh, mon Dieu, it is construction. Everything in France is under construction. There they go, picking cherries." So they ride this little lift, boop, 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 up the side, and they get into the room that houses, really, really, really expensive, priceless, beautiful crown jewels. And they just, they go inside. There were no laser beams. There were no corneal matches. There were no 10-digit codes to unlock the vaults that house these beautiful pieces of artistry. No, just a couple of dudes with some mini chainsaws just right into the side of it, and then sort of break the glass, and people are standing there like, whoa, it's a couple dudes in yellow vests. Well, they've got yellow vests on, so they must be official. So, obviously this is how they just open up the jewelry cases at the Louvre, and they just go inside and take everything and wash it off, and they'll probably put it back in an hour. And then the whole thing took about 4 minutes from the time they got into the building to the time they got on their little Yamaha scooters and sped off. It was about 8 minutes, and not terribly technical, pretty well thought out, a pretty simple plan, but it has to give everyone pause in every part of the world that houses something that might be hot on the resale market, like jewelry. How easy it is for people to just get in, smash and grab, and leave. I think they have tougher security on 47th Street between 5th and 6th Avenues in Manhattan. It's the block essentially where we work at Fox News. We are, on 6th Avenue between 47th and 48th. 47th is Diamond Row. That's where all the jewelry places are. And occasionally there is a big heist where organized thieves make off with, hundreds of thousands of dollars in watches and diamonds. And usually there are guns. There were no guns here. They don't like guns in France. The security guards certainly have an allergy to them. And it was so easy. And now we're reading about it, and the closed circuit TV wasn't even working in that part of the museum. And they also didn't go after the Regent diamond. And that is the 140 carat diamond that is allegedly worth 60 million euros. Oh! So they didn't go after that. They got a couple tiaras, couple brooches. They got a special little crown that they dropped on the way out and damaged it, but I think it'll be fine. They'll just take some French super glue and slap that thing back together and put it on display in a low security zone once again for someone else to go in and nab when they're bored. And a lot of people are really worried. It's like, oh, are they going to be able to replace the jewelry? I don't. I'm trying to work up the energy to really care whether or not it goes back because, it was France during Napoleon's time. It's probably stolen from somewhere else, like the Mona Lisa, which was stolen in 1911 and it was missing for 28 months. And it was a guy, a handyman, who put the glass over the Mona Lisa, put it in its protective little see-through case, and he was apparently really upset. He was an Italian nationalist, and he took the Mona Lisa off the wall, hid in a little handyman repair closet for a couple days, and then with two of his buddies, they just walked out of the Louvre, and they didn't even realize it was missing for a couple of days because the Mona Lisa was not even close to the most famous painting that was in the Louvre, including in that wing. It was not on, unless you were a Renaissance art expert, no one really knew about the painting. It was not this world-renowned, world-famous piece of art that it is now at the Louvre, because when you go to see it, she's up high, she's kind of small, it's hard to take a picture. She is encased in something that is probably also very accessible, like hysterically so, now that we're seeing how low-tech the security is at a place that houses some of the most priceless works of art on the planet. But yeah, and so the guy took it to Italy and after a while finally went into an art dealer in Florence and was like, hey, you want to take this off my hands? Napoleon stole it from us. I got it back. And the guy's like, let me get your reward. And turn him in. The guy who stole it was arrested, spent 8 months in prison. And then World War I started. And no one really cared about that guy ever again. But it made the Mona Lisa very, very famous.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
Will the same thing happen to the crown jewels? No. I'm much more interested in the, it's called like Ecce Homo, and it's, I know I'm probably saying it wrong. It's the fresco of Christ that is in a small Spanish town. And one of the elderly church-going women was like, I know what I'll do with this priceless 16th century fresco. I'm going to church it up and fix it. And they made Jesus look like a really sad Eskimo. I want to go see that because she kind of destroyed it trying to make it better. And for me, I love a little bit of chaos, and that makes it better. So would I go to the Louvre to see the crown jewels if they return? Sure. I've been to the Louvre. It's fun. It's big. You really got to pick your poison and go with what you know. Just download a top 10 list of things you have to see at the Louvre, and it's pretty satisfying. But if what happens goes according to what experts are saying now, which is the thieves are going to melt down all the precious metals, they're going to cut down the stones, and they're going to resell them, and they will never be reassembled again. Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have great security, because when you don't care enough to have excellent world-class security, then thieves who are less than world-class will find it pretty easy to rent a cherry picker and go inside with a couple of rented chainsaws and, get what they need, and they are set for life. Who knows if we'll ever know who they are? The last day, it's been pretty quiet. And maybe they'll find everything. Maybe someone will get a big reward. I doubt it. It's probably going to be like the lady who turned in Lady Gaga's dogs. And she was like, okay, can I have the $250,000 reward now? And they're like, sure, toots. And then they got the dogs back and they're like, just kidding. You're going to get arrested along with the guys who actually stole the dogs. So I was much more emotionally invested in Lady Gaga's French bulldogs. And I was much more happy to see that they were returned than Napoleon's wives' gaudy jewelry, which, those emerald earrings, if you look at them, like, you would have the ugliest, droopiest earlobes if you tried to wear those things. Like the aging hipsters who put the dumb plates in their ears, and then because ears are not elastic, they stretched out, and they have these super awful looking Dumbo ears that just betray the fact that anyone who gave in to that trend is not a nativist. They just have horrible style and, again, body dysmorphia. So they should be forced to wear the emerald earrings to cover up the sins of their bad style in the past. So will the jewels be returned? No, probably not. And I'm going to get the Regent Diamond sized for my finger for next time I go to the Louvre. Wink! This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with the Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.